Hello everyone, this is Amir Sebi, and my course topic is World Literature 1123. Now, this is a course I designed for a current, World Literature instructor, and is intended for a summer session course. Now, this project, I'm going to focus on the Week 1 folder, and this folder houses two lessons, lessons 1 and 2. Okay, first I'm going to do a quick rundown of everything that's housed under the course information subheading, and then I'll move down to the course content area. Now, all the content for both the course information and the course content were created by me. I did, however, get some guidance from the instructor on the goals of each lesson. So with his guidance, I built the content that would help guide the students through the various activities and promote optimal learning. Now, the target audience of my course is undergraduate students who are a combination of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and there are a total of 15 students who are going to be enrolled. Now, this course is required as a university core course at the University of Arkansas, and all these students have already completed the first World Literature 1 course, so they're somewhat familiar with what to expect from this course. However, it's not obvious yet how many students are familiar with Blackboard, and whether any of my target audience have actually taken a course like this, a hybrid learning course. So one of the first things that the students will be required to do is complete an introduction survey. Now this is one of my, as part of how I'm going to assess my, now to assess, now as part of my assessment, I'm going to have an introduction pre-skilled survey, and this is going to assess their knowledge, background using Blackboard. And since one of my goals is to include optimal learning by meeting different learning abilities of each student, I've included some questions in this initial pre-skill survey that will help the instructor get to know how each student learns. So in other words, do you learn better by watching movies, slides, audio, text, etc. And then to help build and promote an online community, each student will be required to complete on the first day of class an introduction blog. Now this blog will allow for each student to introduce themselves and let the instructor and classmates get to know each other a little better. So in order to enhance collaboration, each student is required to respond to 2 student posts. Now this way each student will at least have read 2 posts and learned something about at least 2 other students. Now the hope is that they read all the posts, but even if they don't, at least they'll have to read 2 posts, so that's still good. Now this online collaboration is carried on in both lessons. I accomplish this by requiring that they make discussion board posts and respond to their peers' posts. Now another key student assessment is I want to make sure that students actually understand the material. This is crucial, especially during summer course and how quickly it moves, and we all have experience with that. So part of assessing of each student, I've included quizzes that ask questions that relate to literature. They're to answer questions that requires them to reflect on literature and actually think outside the box. So since this is a hybrid course, there will be, in addition to the readings and supplemental materials in Blackboard, there'll be class lectures. So a lot of the meanings, the themes, motives, symbolic meanings, etc., will be discussed in the class lectures. So the quizzes are a good test to assess whether the students actually paid attention in class and whether the instructor needs to spend a little more time on a particular subject or a particular piece of literature. So this is why the hybrid approach works so well with this summer course. And also there are so many varying resources included in the lessons that students, in addition with the class lecture, should not have any problems grasping the material. But that's not always the case. So there are assessment mechanisms that will help the instructor pinpoint problem areas. Now, also to enhance collaboration and give students a hands-on approach, they'll be designing the questions for their own midterm and final. Not all of them, but a portion of them. So this is where the class wiki comes into play. There will be a total of 5 class wiki posts throughout the semester. Now for this project, since I'm only focusing on 2 of the lessons, the week 1 folder, there will be 1 wiki contribution. Now this wiki post will require that each student post 5 questions about the literature. So they'll create 5 questions that'll be either true or false, multiple choice, short answer, identification, etc. I'll make sure I'll give the details and the instructions for that particular post. And I'll specify the format in which they're to write the questions in. Now, Then for the midterm and final, I'll choose, or then for the midterm and final, the instructor will choose 20 questions from this wiki. So this way, it'll be a good way to give each student kind of a hands-on approach, since they'll create the questions and these questions will be on the test. So I think this will be one real good activity. Okay, so now let's look what I have. Let's go to my site. Okay, here's my course right here. I've got my header. And here's the menu. So first, I've got the subheading course information. I've got the home page, which is a link to this page right here. I've got announcements, which, as I mentioned in the previous presentation, will include pretty much class changes, schedule changes, course milestones, and just pretty much any way for the instructor to communicate with the students. So I've got that. I got a link right there, and I've also got that on my home page as well, right there. And then I've got about the instructor, and I haven't done this yet, but it's pretty much going to be a picture of the instructor, and it's going to be a little bit about himself, his background, and his education, and etc. Then there's a syllabus. Now I've got different versions. I've got the text version, I've got the visual syllabus, and then I've broken down his syllabus into a course timeline and a reading schedule and an assignment schedule. So let's take a look at those real quick. So the first one is the text version. Now his original syllabus was a mess. I mean, it was just a bunch of words on a piece of paper. So I kind of broke it down and I added stuff. Yeah, let's open it up real quick here. It'll take a minute. Okay. Okay, so I've got the text version of the course syllabus right here. And as I mentioned before, it was a mess. It was pretty much just a Word document, just full of words, so it wasn't readable at all. So what I did was I added information to it as well, but I broke it down into chunks. So let's open it up here. Okay, so once it downloads, this is it right here. So pretty much what I did is I chunked all the information. So I had the course objectives, transferable skills, the course text, course requirements, and I made nice little kind of charts here to where I broke the points down, and then I've got attendance and everything just broken down into. Okay, then I've got all the attendance here, preparation, participation. I've got everything broken down into points and what should be expected. In other words, how you get the full points. And then I've got the major projects. So I've got the masterpiece assignment, all the information for that, and then I got the midterm, final, formatting, course policies, and available help, etc. So I broke it down to where it's easy to read, it's more readable. So so that's that. Now let's go to the visual syllabus. Let's click on that. It'll take a minute to download. Okay. Now here's the syllabus I did. It's kind of a quick reference for students. So if they want to kind of easily be able to find out, what the final's worth, for example, they can just go to final, find on the wheel here, and it's 150 points, and bam, there's a little description there. Or if they want to see, okay, what are the quizzes worth? There's 150 points for the quizzes, and I've got a little description here. Each quiz is 10 points, 11 online quizzes, 4 in-class pop quizzes, 2 grades will be dropped. So there's an easy way for students just to kind of so it's an easy way for students to kind of just go through and find the information quickly. It's a lot more easier to find than going through the text version of the syllabus. Okay, and then I've got the course timeline. This will take a minute to load. Okay, now I created this in a program called Time Glider. This is the free version. So pretty much right here I've got a brief introduction to the course schedule. Let's close that out. And right here I've got everything kind of labeled. So the red circles are readings, and each triangle represents a day when an assignment is due. Now I've got to make some changes to this, but let's just, for example, look at the first one. So we've got July 2nd, start of class, introduction to the course, modest proposal. Let's click on that. And then when you click on that, I've got a brief kind of a description of the text, the learning objectives of the further reading. So when they click on that, they'll see that and they can read that. Pretty much what they should get out of Swift's modest proposal. So I've got that for each of the readings. So let's look at Voltaire, for example, same thing. And let's look at one more. Tartuffe, same thing. So that's a good way for students, just again, to find all the information quickly. Now, this might be kind of hard for them to read, so if they want, they can also pull up a list view. Just click on that arrow right there, go to list, and bam, there's everything right there in an easy list view. So you've got July 2nd, the readings, all the readings, and then when all the assignments are due. So pretty much it's a combination of the reading and assignment schedule, and with learn objectives. So let's go back. Okay, and then I've got the reading schedule. Now here's this is an image, so I created this just simple. Let's see if it opens here. Okay, so right here I created this simple chart. Oops. Let's go. Okay, so right here I created this simple chart, so you can see I've got all the dates when the readings are due or when they should start reading the text. I've got the brief description of the assignments. So the first one, Jonathan Swift's modest proposal, and I've got the pages here. So this is the text, class text. So it's the Norton Anthology, Volume D, pages 43 to 48, and I've got it separated by week. So this is an easy way for them to just go to, for example, week 1 and find out, okay, what should I be reading for July 3rd? Voltaire. So that's the reading schedule. Now I also did an assignment schedule. Now this is kind of similar to the reading schedule, but it lists when all the assignments are due. So for example, I've got July 2nd, and the assignment is the course survey introduction to Blackboard's due, and I've got the points listed here to the right. So again, like the reading schedule, it's just an easy way for them to get information. Okay, so that's pretty much everything for the course information. So all the items under the course information subheading. Now let's go to the content area. Then we click on a course introduction survey. That's the first assignment the students have, and as I mentioned, it's kind of a pre-skill survey to assess and see how familiar they are with Blackboard. So here's just some questions I created, and this was done using the program called Serves. So here's one like, how many classes have you taken that use Blackboard? So you do 1 and 2. Here's another one, how comfortable are you with using Blackboard to submit assignments and access course materials? You can say, somewhat comfortable, I need help, say I need help. And here's, do you have access to a computer? So some of these questions relate to the technology, since they'll be using or doing assignments online, and part of one of their projects is a presentation which they'll record. So using something similar to Echo 360. So they'll have to have access to a computer, obviously, and a webcam and a microphone. So here's some questions I asked to assess and see whether or not they have the tools to complete this class successfully. And then if they don't, I've got a question here. It says, do you need help with accessing a computer for this course? If you answer yes, please let me know and I can help you find a computer to use. So just various questions. And then one question is about their learning abilities. Like for example, here's one. I said, what is the easiest way for you to learn new materials? They can choose visuals, audio, text, combination of all of them, not sure. So some basic questions that will help the instructor assess how familiar they are with Blackboard and whether or not they have the proper tools as far as technology goes to complete this course. So let's go back. Okay, so now we've got readings and assignments. Now this content area houses all the lessons. So let's click there. You see I got everything broken down into weekly folders. So since the focus of this project is going to be on week 1, so let's click on week 1. And I've got 2 folders. So week 1 has 2 lessons. There's the Jonathan Swift a modest proposal, which is lesson 1, so I have to add that to the title, lesson 1. And Voltaire's Candide or Optimism, which is lesson 2. So I got to add lesson 2 to the title as well, and a brief description like I did in right here. So let's start with Jonathan Swift. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got an image. So for each one, I'm going to have an image of the writer, and I've got one quote from the text. So here's one from A Modest Proposal. Then you go down, I've got an image here I've taken from LibraryVox. Now all these images are going to be public domain, so I got them through Creative Commons. And let's go down here, and I've got reading and learning objectives. So I've got the objectives listed here. And I've got everything broken down into chunks, kind of. So I've got everything separated, so it's more readable. I've got readings, so here's the location for the readings in the text. And then I've got other additional readings, so they can also download an e-text. So let's just go to this one, for example. And these are all, again, part of the public domain. So here they can download the full online text, or they can do an EPUB file. And then let's go down, and then here I've got links to the audio text. So let's just go to this one, for example. There's one on Project Gutenberg. These are, again, public domain. So here you got multiple formats. You got MP3, you can download it for iTunes, as an OGG file. So you've got a lot of options there. And then let's go to supplemental resources. So now here I've got additional information about the text. So, for example, let's look at one here. Here's the is a guest discussion about Jonathan Swift's Modest Proposal. This is a BBC production. It's a In Our Time radio recording. And I've got all the information here listed about who has participated in the discussion. Now, since copyright issue is kind of iffy on this one, and some of the supplemental resources I've included, and instead of like using mashups for some of the YouTube videos, I just created links to be safe. And I also listed who did the video, if I could find the information, and just to be safe. So yeah, here's one, as I mentioned, as a discussion. So just click on there. And it takes you to the BBC page where you can see the discussion here, the Swift's Modest Proposal, and you can listen to it or watch the video. So that's supplemental resources. Now let's go down here, and I've got the activities. Now you'll see I did this in the Voltaire folder, but I'm going to separate this and create a content folder called activities. So when they click that, they'll actually go to all the activities. So it'd be a better way to organize it. So here's one as a discussion question of for a Modest Proposal. So you click on that, and it takes you to the first discussion question. So I've got a brief description of what I want them to answer. So I got the question, and I got instructions on the length of it and how they have to provide feedback to at least 2 other students. And I've got the date listed here of when when the discussion is due. So that's that. Let's go back. So that's pretty much it for lesson 1. Let's take a look at lesson 2, which is Voltaire. Same thing, as you can see, I got a picture and I've got a quote here. So this one is, to look upon oneself with horror and yet to cling to oneself. In short, to caress the serpent which desires us until he has eaten our heart. So there's one quote I included from the work from Voltaire's Candide. I always love that quote. Then you go down, I've got lesson objectives, and again I've got all the objectives listed here. I've got class text location, and I've got e-text and audio text links. As you can see here, I formatted this one a little differently than the other folders, so I think this one looks a little better. It's a lot more, it's chunked a lot better. So I'm going to change the lesson 1 folder, the Modest Proposal folder, to look more like this folder. To the way I have it set up here, it's more organized. So as you can see here, I got all the different e-text, and I've got a PDF download for the text. These are all public domain as well. I've got e-text or audio text. They're from LibraryVox, which again is a public domain website. I've got supplemental resources, and for example, here's one. It's a New York Public Library's website. It's a great page all about Voltaire's Candide, and I included a YouTube link. And here, this is a Broadway production done on Voltaire's Candide. It's a musical. Now, usually I don't like musicals, but it's pretty well done. So they can watch this. Now, since I was kind of concerned about copyright issues, all I did was just, this showed, since I was kind of worried about copyright issues, I just copied the link here so they can just click on the link and go to the YouTube video. So I thought this was safer instead of using the mashup tool. And then I've got a class lecture video. Now this is a PowerPoint video. So instead of just uploading the PowerPoint slides, I figured I'd save it as a movie and just upload it to YouTube. And these are slides I created for the instructor. and they're pretty much what is going to be discussed in the lecture. So this won't be available till after the class lecture. So, but for this project, I'm going to leave it open so you can view it. But here's a quick look at it. So as you can see, you just hit play, and it moves pretty fast. So if they want to read it, they have to pause it, and they can read it, and then hit play to move on. But it's kind of a breakdown of the text and of the learning objectives and all the different themes and motives and symbolisms and etc. So that's that. And if you go down here, as you can see, I've got a class discussion questions. Now, this is not an assignment. It's just something from the reflect on. So let me just read this real quick. It says, I want each of you to reflect on the questions below and be prepared to discuss them in class on July 4th. Actually, July 5th. So now the dates aren't real accurate, but okay. So here, as you can see, I got class discussions. And these questions for students to reflect on. So when they come to class the following day, they'll be prepared to talk about these. They'll be prepared to talk about these. So for example, I've got women characters in Candide and philosophical thought in Candide. So just different things for them to think about when they come to class. They'll be better prepared. Now the dates here I've got to change, but the assignment's going to be the same. So, and then here I actually created the folder, the lesson activities folder. So you click on that. And I've got, again, a Candide discussion board question, and I've got quiz 1. Let's just click on quiz 1 real quick, take a look at it. And I've given them 30 minutes to take the quiz. And I've got description, instructions, and then some quizzes might be multiple choice. For this one, just a short answer. So I'm asking the question, and I want them to answer, and they'll just save and submit it. So that's the quiz. So that's pretty much it for reading assignments. So that's it for the week 1 folder, the first 2 lessons of the course. There's another folder here, it's called course projects. So here I've got the masterpiece portfolio, the research paper outline presentation. I have no content in here yet, but there eventually will be. But it's just and that's pretty much it. So there are still some things I have to work out, but overall I'm almost complete with this project. Now, as far as any barriers go, the only problem I've had is with formatting. I mean, one thing I figured out is copying and pasting from Word can be a nightmare. The formatting never turns out right. But even when I typed within the text editor, it's still, when I try to change the formatting, it looked weird. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong with the heading or what. But that's something I need to work out before I turn in this final project. But other than that, I really didn't have too many problems. I learned quite a bit. So that's it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.